Well, guitar fans, the lawnmower or whatever it was next door stopped with that noise, and I finally finished up the sanding. To show you what it looks like after the final sand's been done. Um, Give you a pretty good idea of the look of things. Stripped. There's that one blemish in the neck that I'm going to try to cover up with some dark stain, but you can see she's pretty smooth. Yeah, looking pretty good. So, you know, what I've done on this thing is the corners here I've smoothed and rounded with sandpaper and whatnot. Really just as smooth as can be. If you look at the front of it, same story here. She's smooth. I ended up doing a 600, 1000, and a 1500. So to get it looking like this, I did 3 more hand sands on the entire body and neck, front and back and sides. So with that, I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. And I guess the next thing's going to be inside putting the stain on. So I'm looking forward. That's going to be fun to see how that goes on and applied. So over and out. Stay tuned, and the next thing will be back in the shop, probably on the overhead cam, sky cam, and the stain will be going on this baby. Over and out. Bye-bye. Well, we're back in the guitar shop here. I've been putting some coats of stain, coloring on this guitar, and you can see, you know, I haven't sanded yet. I'm still putting the dark around the outside, but you can start to see what this is gonna look like, you know, once it's sanded and it's smoothed out. And then this is the dark black, and then like I say, probably, I don't know yet, I'm thinking purple burst or blue burst, I'm not sure, but you can see, I think it's going to turn out pretty nice. I got the still wet here in the front, you know, the back is still wet, it's not dry yet, but you know, once it dries, some of those dark marks in there, still because it's wet, and once it's fully dry, those darker marks will kind of vanish. And again, like I say, the sanding will also level that out and take away those marks. So overall, so far I think it's looking okay. And I think the next episode is going to be, I'm going to have to let this sit all night and completely dry right out. Make sure it's not moist or wet at all, let it dry right out. And then tomorrow I'm going to do the light sanding on the body and the neck. And at that point I'm probably going to be ready to put on my second color. But it's going to be different, that's for sure. I ordered from StewMac this morning. I ordered Grover tuners for the head here. Good Grover tuners. I think they're 15-to-1s, the antique looking Grovers for Les Paul. And I ordered the electronics that go in here. I've got I'm going to use the same pickups because they're I think they're 57 original 57 reissue pickups, great pickups. But all the electronics with that circuit board have all been pulled out of there, and I've ordered all new electronics for it. That's all going to go back in. And like I say, that G-Force tuner is going to be gone. I'm glad to see it go. And yeah, I think it's gonna be really good. I ordered the real Gibson logo this morning. So what goes back on the headstock is the real gold Gibson logo with the Les Paul insignia, the original. So I put it right back to the way it was, right from just like it's from the factory, from Gibson. And after all that's said and done, and I'm happy, then the next episode after all that is going to be, we tried the Tru-oil. and we see what happens. So, oh boy, I'm getting excited. You guys stay tuned if you want to see the outcome of this over the next 2 or 3 videos. Adios, have fun, bye-bye. Well, guitar fans, we're back at this Les Paul refinishing job, and right now I just got through leveling the frets. The neck was set at a absolute straight position, and I usually let it sit overnight, which I did. Then I used this leveling bar. You probably see this before, maybe in other videos, where I basically go back and forth over the frets. It's got sandpaper, metal sandpaper fine on one side and coarse on the other. This just had a few little indentations, so I just used the fine one. Take off the little marks on the cowboy chords. But anyway, while I'm at it, I may as well just do the whole thing and recrown everything and make sure it's perfect. So after I go and I level it and I recrown it, and you see in other videos I use this Z or Z file from StewMac. And you go across the fret like this, back and forth, it recrowns it. But after that's done, every fret's got to be repolished. And a lot of ways of doing that. I'll just show you, I think maybe another video you might have seen this, but what I do is I got sandpaper, 1500 grit sandpaper, very fine. I take a normal rubber ruler, just like you would get from school. I cut a strip of the 1500 grit. I wrap it on around the rubber like that, and then what I can do, make sure I can see it though, I go back and forth on that fret, and what that does, that puts a very high polish on the top of that fret. And it takes quite a bit. That 1500 really doesn't take anything, you know, off the height of this fret. It just basically puts a really nice polish on the top. So you can take a look at it. You can see, I can take a look at that right here, and I can see how that polish is coming. And I don't know, maybe I can bring the Skycam down, and I try to show you the difference between a polished fret and an unpolished fret. So let me see if I can do that for you. We're going to bring the Skycam down and see what happens here. Okay, here we go. So if I look at that fret, and if I go right where I'm doing the polishing job, you can see right where the green tape ends, you can see the fret on the left hand side, this one. You see how it catches the light, and these all along here catch the light, and you can see how shiny the top of those frets are. They really just shine, 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 shine. And you go close and they're just as smooth could be. You go over here where it hasn't been polished, you see the roughness on those frets, and of course you can see the very top, you know, here. You see the little edge where the crowning has put that little flat top on that, but you can see how these really rough and no shine, compared to these with the big shine and very, very nice. So that, hopefully that gives you an idea about what this polishing is all about and why we polish. You can imagine playing the guitar, and the guitar player is doing a string bend and bending a string down, or it could be pushing up a bend. And if you get on a rough thing like this, when you're bending that string, you got a lot of resistance on the top of that fret with all that rough edge there. And with this thing here, when you do that string bend, it just feels like butter. It just slides so nice on top across the fret on the bends. So also it's a lot harder for the fret to wear when it's highly polished like that. You get these ones that are unpolished or not done right, you get a little nick in there, a little groove, and it starts to wear away, and the next thing you've got a little ding in your fret. So very important that after you've leveled the frets, very important that they're properly crowned, and then again, very important, they're properly polished like that. So anyway, I go back to the Skycam and we continue on here. So I guess I finally finished the polishing, and for those that want to see what it should look like when the frets are all polished properly, I'm going to show you again. If these have all been polished, I still have the protection tape all the way down. So while I'm polishing, there's no way I can, slip and make a mistake and do something on the fretboard. But if you look at these frets and you follow them along with the light, you're going to see that these are just as smooth and shiny as you can imagine. You can see how that light reflects off. You start looking at them close up, you'll see what I mean. There's absolutely no marks, little scratches or nothing on those frets. And of course you have to do them all right from the top right to the bottom. So this gives you a really good idea of, if you stand back with a light and you see all that shininess on there all the way along the fret as you look at the light, you have a pretty good idea that somebody did a really good job on polishing those frets. So hopefully that gives you an idea what to look for. Then a new guitar should look like this. You buy a guitar off the shelf, that's the way the frets should look. The other thing, of course, is along here, you should have no sharp edges either on those frets. If they've been snipped correctly and they've been, the ends have been filed, this one is really good. I got no work to do on these guys, but that shows you really good what it looks like. Anyway, so on to the next phase, I guess. Take that off. Gonna go outside and do some sanding. Not gonna bore you with those details. I'll show you when that's done. Bye. Well, this morning we're gonna start the Tru-oil on this guy, and get my sandpaper here. I'm going to be using 1500 grit, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a first wet sand with Tru-oil on this guitar. And the theory behind this is, when I sand it with Tru-oil and let it sit, the little fibers, the little bit of if you want to call it dust that is made by the sanding, it will actually, with the Tru-oil, fill in the cracks and seal the wood. So I'm not sure if that theory is going to work or not, but we're going to find out, I guess, because I watch a little bit on YouTube, and I see some other channels where the guys have tried this. And I don't know, it seemed to work. So I go and I get my my paper, some little bit of paper here to clean up with, just in case I have a problem and spill a little bit. So anyways, we're going to see what happens. And like I say, what they say is you just put the Tru-oil on this paper like that, liberally. And then all you do is you just do a fine sand with this thing. So I need lots of oil, I can tell that right now, to make this slide and do what it's supposed to do. So I'm going to put it on, and we're going to see what happens. See if this works. They say it works. I guess I'm going to find out. Yeah, it looks nice. This finish. Until right now, you need lots of oil on this thing. I think what happens as you go with this Tru-oil, I think what's going to happen is the first layer you put on like this, it's probably going to sink into the wood, and you're going to use a lot of oil. But I think what's going to happen is after you get the first layer on, then I think what's going to happen is that's going to go away, and you're not going to be using as much Tru-oil as what you will on the other, when you put the other layers on. I'm not sure how many coats you put onto this stuff. I guess you keep putting it on till it starts to, depending what you want. If you want a glossy finish or you just want a satin finish, I guess it depends. But I do know it looks like when they put this first coat on, they put it on quite liberally and do this light sanding. So I'm going to follow what I hear everybody does, and I'll find out, I guess. But yeah, that's all you do. I see I got a little bit, I got to get a little bit right in here. This part here is not getting oil on it. So we're going to try to get a little bit in here. I don't know why it doesn't want to go in there. It just doesn't want to go. But okay. There we go. Getting it in there now. Still doesn't want to go in that one spot, eh? Right there. It doesn't want to get in there. There it goes. Bit there. Same here. Doesn't want to go in that one groove there. There it goes. So we do this. Well, boy, that oil sure, it sure absorbs in there. Holy moly. Big time. It absorbs into that wood. I didn't think it would absorb that much, to tell you the truth, but it sure does. Goes right in. That first coat or so, it's gonna go right into the wood. So, see, I put it on quite liberally. Now keep in mind, this coat that I'm putting on here, I'm going to be doing a fine sand on this after this cures. So just so you know, this coat doesn't have to be that smooth and that fine because of the because what I'm going to be doing after the fact with this guy. So oh boy, guy, let's see if I can get that up there. I don't know if you can see that or not. Hopefully the webcam look okay like that, but we're going to put it in here anyway. See what I can do here. Going to get it on the fretboard. I'm going to have to redo that. Good thing I haven't sanded and conditioned my fretboard yet, because no matter what I try to do, it's going to be almost impossible to keep keep this from touching somewhere on the fretboard. It's pretty hard to. Of course, it's stuck on the cam there too, eh? So we see what happens here. Now, like I said, I'm going to be sanding this again, so I'll have some lumps on it this time around. It's not going to matter, but I don't want to get it on that key, on the Easy to take off with the little bit of sandpaper on there, I think. I don't know why it wants to get on there, it just does. Sets up pretty quick. Might as well pour it on, because I'm not doing much good with that. Applying it like that. This looks better. This is going to be better. There we go. This is the part back here that's gonna really need to be sealed. Back in here. Front maple is a closed wood. This, I think, is, I'm not sure what this body is, but it's an open grain wood. So this one here, we need to make sure we get this in there good like that. Sand it a bit. But that looks like it's going in. So anyway, we do something like that. That stuff is real sticky, so it might be easier to apply it like this than having it running all over like it is. Very difficult to, but I think that's going to come out nice and smooth when I do the sand on it, I believe. Gonna find out anyway, aren't I? Get a lot of Tru-oil on there. Get this on here like this. Do this up good. Let it sink in. Like they said, I look at the videos. This first coat is the one that you put on liberally and let it sit in. And then after that, you do a sanding. And then from there, you're probably going to be in a position where it starts to look good. Starting to look good now, to tell you the truth. So I think with that, I have to let this dry now. Then I have to put a light sanding on it. And then I'm going to be able to put this Tru-oil on correctly after all this has been sitting there and absorbed in, and then another light sanding, and then I have to be careful because the next one, it has to go on smooth like a French polish. So the next one's going to be done a little different. You'll see. But what I want to make sure of, I don't have any of that Tru-oil stuck on the stock head. So I'm going to use some alcohol, and I make sure anything that went on this stock, this head here, I take that right off so it's absolutely clean like that. And anything on the fretboard, I just make sure I use the alcohol and clean it off, just like that. So there we're golden. I had a little mark there I put on. I had a little one up here that went on, and I just used the alcohol. This is another thing I find too. You know, it's you buy this at the hardware store, not the hardware store, the drugstore. And I find that a lot of times this alcohol, 99%, I find I use that a lot for cleaning stuff. You know, I'm not sure what other people use for stuff like this, but I find it works really good when you're cleaning things. Just like that, where I get a little bit of this oil on that headstock, and I want to make sure that it's gone. You put that on, holy cow, it takes it right off. Yeah, it takes it right off. So, you know, no big deal. The one thing I'll show you an example that, you know, here's this Tru-oil bottle now all covered with oil, you know. So, you know, if I take that bottle and I take a little bit of this rubbing alcohol and I just grab another paper towel from behind here, and you'll see what I mean. I'm just going to put that on there, because every time I touch this bottle, I don't want to be covered with this stuff. It's kind of sticky. But, you know, you put that on there. That cleans that bottle right off perfectly. No more Tru-oil on the bottle. You know, same with your hands. Put a little on your hands. And off it comes. So yeah, that works good. So we're pretty well all cleaned up there. Yeah, that's sank in really good. That's what they said it would do. It would sink right in like that, the first coat, and that's exactly what it does. I just want to make sure this is perfectly clean up here. Make sure there's nothing on this that's going to cause an issue. Just going to clean that headstock right off like that. Make sure she's nice and clean. Yeah. There we go. Huh. Yeah, sink right in, eh? Okay, now here you can see where I got a little bit that I want to maybe just clean off a little bit. There's a little bit running. So let me see if I got something. Of course, I got nothing left here now. I got this over here. I just want to make sure that's not a big mess there. There we go. And I clean it out of there too. A little bit there running. Take it out of there. Get it out of the groove. Yeah. It only takes it doesn't take that long to cure this. A couple hours. But I'm going to let it sit for about 4 to make sure that it's totally cured and everything is okay. So that's kind of my first rough coat on, if you will, of that Tru-oil. So we take this up later. I'll let it sit for probably, like I say, till after lunch, and we'll see what happens then. So see you later. Well, we're into our second little session, putting on some Tru-oil. So I let this sit for a good 4 hours, and this time instead of trying to get out of the bottle, I put in this little container. It's going to be a lot easier. And basically, what they're talking about doing is putting it on like you would a French polish. And what that means is, you do this, what I'm doing right here. you're rubbing this into the wood in a rounding, polishing motion, and this is how you put it on. If you're going to do the, I guess to get the best results, they say, do it this way. You don't put it on thick. Remember that first coat I put on, I laid it on real thick, and I already did a polish. I already did a sanding, a light sanding on that. So that means that this coat here is going to be a smooth coat, where you're not going to have blobs all over. Like I say, the first coat I put on thick, and then I do a 1500 grit sand on it, so that it comes out good. And then I see the guys, they want to make sure it's nice and smooth. So you go and you make sure there's no lumps in it anywhere. And that's basically how you put on this Tru-oil, just like I just did. And that's it. You let it sit like that. I'm going to put the neck on. I'm going to go up the neck. I'm going to do the sides and the top on a different session. I'll let this dry. This first dry up, and make sure it's on smooth the way I want it to be. Holy cow. So big difference on this second coat versus the first coat. Because remember my first coat video, I mentioned that it basically goes right into the wood right away, and it absorbs. But this one here, you can see the difference with the second coat. It's sitting on top, and it's looking like a pretty nice looking finish on this thing. Yeah. So boy, oh boy, she's a nice looking finish. And what they say to do is you make sure you rub all the excess off, let it sit for a few minutes like that. The other thing I notice, I'm using an old chamois here. Hopefully I'll probably have to go buy another one, because this here leaves no lint on the surface of the wood. So that's important, that you don't leave any lint from a cloth or something on the surface of this wood. So that's why you want to make sure you use something like this to wipe it down, and that takes all the excess oil off, so it's smooth. But at the same time, it makes sure there's no no little bits. For example, using a paper towel here, you might end up with little bits of fiber in the darn thing that you don't want. So that's why you do it like this. Just need a little touch up there. Holy moly. Wow, it looks pretty good. I'll tell you the truth. I don't know Probably can't see this from where you are easily on the cam, but if I bring the cam down, which I guess I'll do, so I'm going to bring the Skycam down, and we're just going to move back here a little bit so you get kind of an eyeball look at what this looks like with just, this is just the second coat going on here. And you can see that, boy, cracky. I think it's going to be a, you know, once you get enough coats on, I'm just looking at that finish just like that. So it gives, you know, you can imagine what it's going to look like after I have maybe 8 or 9 coats built up on here. So I'm pretty happy with that. So over and out, and check back later. I won't bore you with every coat I put on, but I'll kind of show you maybe after I put 4 or 5 coats on. Take another video, get a look at that then. Okay, have a good one. Toodaloo, bye. Well, just a little progress update. So after probably, what do we got on? About 4 coats of Tru-oil. Let's take a look and see. Now keep in mind, I'm probably going to be putting somewhere between 12 to 14 coats on. But where are we after about 4 coats? Let's just take a quick look and see. Give you an idea of the way that finishes on this Les Paul. And I don't know. You tell me. Sure shows the grain nice, but don't forget I put a dark stain. I did a black stain on it first, and then I went and I sanded it and sanded it down. So it looks like it's gonna be a fairly nice looking stain and polish on here. So I'm thinking what's going to happen as I put more coats on, you can see little spots like, for example, just up in this area, a little bit here. You can see where you kind of wonder, is it not just shiny? A little bit in here. And that's about all. I think what's going to happen here is we've got, this is filling in this Tru-oil, and don't forget a little bit maybe right there. But what's going to happen after I get, like I say, about 8 or I don't know, 8, 9 coats on, I'm going to be doing, like I say, a final kind of wet sand, and then put another 4 or 5 coats on top of that. And I think what's going to happen is all those little marks you might see, I think they're going to vanish. But boy, the next she's sure turning out nice. I think anyway. So anyways, we'll keep an update, progress report on this as it progresses, folks.